And for this particular episode, I have a guest named Shelin David, and we are going to discuss all things chartered accountant and tax and basics. We're all about community on this community podcast. We love having sex workers on here to share their stories, expertise, and skills. However, we also love other communities and collaborating with other professionals, because an insulated community can only rely on their strengths, whilst I feel like when we collaborate with other communities, then we can draw upon our respective strengths and have tighter networks. And yeah, I also believe in the strength of community and also storytelling. Thank you for joining us today and sharing with us your expertise. In preparation of this episode, I asked the community, like, what would you like to ask a chartered accountant? And I had so many questions, but I feel like this episode will mostly cover the basics, and we won't actually get to any of the questions, unfortunately. But I think you need a strong foundation, because I don't know anything about tax, even though I've been doing sex work for 14 years, and I probably should know at least something. So that's why I have you here. And maybe we can start off by asking, what is a chartered accountant and what is your role, and how does that differ from other financial professionals like a planner or a counsellor?
Yeah, so I'm a chartered accountant. So what that means is I'm a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants for Australia and New Zealand. That's about 3 years of working for a chartered accountants firm, while also I think sitting for 4 or 5 different exams, and each exam is pretty much like a semester, if you like. So very similar to almost doing a second degree after uni. Once you're qualified, you're a chartered accountant. What that means is you're now, I guess a professional member of the institute, which means you can provide services as a chartered accountant. You get access to the network. You get access to to a lot of professional development, but also as a chartered accountant, you are required to do at least 20 hours of professional development hours every year. And that's almost like a little booklet, if you like, that you need to kind of note down the 20 hours of what you're doing and when. And the institute can sort of run an audit at any point in time to kind of check that you've done your hours.
And that's because I'm guessing legislation changes or the rules change and the accountants.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So legislation changes every year, tax legislation.
Wow.
Even not all. There are definitely parts of tax legislation that changes every year, if not more, every quarter, 6 months. So you'll note the biggest announcement in which you'll see most of those changes will be in the annual federal budget.
Okay.
That gets announced in May every year. So so the professional development, I guess, is really important, because you want to, the Institute of a Chartered Accountant or any of the other institutes, which I'll talk about in a second, they want to make sure that these accountants are up to date with the latest tax legislations. We've got a code of conduct as well, ethics. So there's making sure that we are conducting ourselves professionally, servicing clients. And just outside of that tax space as well, just other like business advisory as a whole, making sure that we're in tune with, the latest sort of development, microeconomic developments, because that's all important, I think, when we're advising clients.
Yeah.
Just really kind of briefly talking about the couple of, other types of accountants. So you do have the institute, you have the like CPAs, the Certified Practicing Accountants, which are kind of similar. Sometimes people kind of, there's this ongoing, I think, like, comparison of CAs and CPAs, and I probably won't share my professional opinion or personal opinion about it on the podcast, but they've got exams too, but there are certain requirements that is not as rigid as a CA. And then you've got the Institute of Public Accountants as well, so that's another kind of institute. But I just want to quickly also mention, not every accountant that you meet or that you know is a tax accountant.
Okay.
Because you could have management accountants, you could have like financial accountants. So management accountants and financial accountants mostly work for businesses, right? So tax accountants, or you have people who come out of these programs, like even CAs or CPAs or whatever, and they work as an audit. So they work as auditors. So again, yeah, not all accountants. Yes, I just like to kind of, but I think that context is really important. I think that context is important because I think it helps people to understand that, you know, if they're talking to an accountant, is this person the right accountant to be helping me with my tax returns? Because to be providing tax return services, you need to have a tax agent license, or at least be in partnership with a tax agent license provider. So that's also important to ask for anyone.
So much to know.
So much to know. But I think, yeah, I mean, and hopefully, you know, as we sort of unravel this world, I think things will be hopefully get a bit more clearer. But I also want to quickly touch on the other finance professionals in the industry. So outside of tax accountants, you've got other types of accountants, but then outside of the whole accountants world, if you like, you also have financial planners. Again, financial planners are different. Financial planners need to get their own sort of certifications as well. You know, a few years back we had a royal inquiry, commission into financial planners and how some people were overcharging clients' investment fees, etc. Blah blah blah.
Surprised.
So they have a quite ASIC sort of manages a lot of that, and there's definitely a lot of tight legislation around that. And, you know, other kind of finance professionals like bookkeepers, for example, who, again, bookkeepers should don't really have bookkeepers should, if they can't lodge tax returns unless they've got a tax return license, again, agent license. Bookkeepers would normally be who you might go to help organise your bookkeeping. But they should have
bookkeeping means
bookkeeping
transactions.
Yeah, transactions, which I'll talk about later as well. When we talk about record keeping, but yeah, so bookkeepers need to have their BAS agent license. So what that means, BAS stands for Business Activity Statement. So if you are a business, or, you know, whether you're a sole trader, trust company, and you operate, and you need to register for GST, you'll know, which is goods and services taxes, and we know what that is in Australia. And so if you need to report your GST, you need to make sure that your bookkeeping is accurate and up to date. And you can get a BAS agent or a tax agent to help you with that. So so there's a bit there. I mean, we can always happy to answer more questions later down the track.
I think that's helpful though, because I feel like you need to have at least a base understanding before you can even identify what you need. You need to know what products and services are available. That is a part of financial literacy. And here on the Bigger Sister channel Economic Empowerment Program, we want to improve the financial literacy of sex workers. For us to do that, we need to understand who does what and why, to better, you know, figure out which one do I need.